The Joe Rogan Experience.
Do you think the meek will inherit the earth? You think if that was a prophecy, that they would be talking about technologists, they would be talking about like the people that run Twitter and Google and Facebook and the internet tech people, which is, if you think about like the amount of money that Facebook has, the amount of money that YouTube has, so like these enormously influential tech companies, even Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Like who are they? Who are they? These are nerds.
They're nerds, but they're very
nerds.
aggressive nerds, and they're very thoughtful nerds, and they're very competitive nerds. So I don't consider them the meek. I think
who's the meek?
So I think the meek, the philosophy behind that, and I think the United States also works on this premise in a sense, is the American dream. So what keeps the masses from rising up and taking the money from people who the have-nots, from taking money from the haves, and especially when the haves, are rather slim in number in comparison to the large portion of the population that has, say, like $500 in the bank. Well, what's great about the United States, what's always worked about the United States, the reason we don't have the French Revolution in this country, is because the American dream is about potential. There is a potential. I may not have money now, but I may, and I will, because I know I will, because I'm an optimist. I will be in the 1% eventually. I got an idea, bro. I'm telling you, it's a great idea. And people need that hope. You take that hope away, you take the ability, you take the idea that there's no way I can ever esteem out of my condition, you better be careful. So potential, the potential to be better, the potential to be wealthier. Think about how a lot of us, as we get older,
Do you
if we're
think
doing
that's
the right
what the
thing.
meek will inherit the earth meant?
I think it's in
I
that
think it
area.
meant that people that aren't creating war, was probably the people that were left over.
No,
so
I think it's a way.
hack each other to pieces.
No, I think it's a way of getting people to at least live with the fact that I'm a serf, I'm a peasant, I have no way to esteem out of my condition, but at least I have the afterlife. At least I know that if I live and I suffer well and I suffer quietly and I suffer with dignity, there will be a reward after this.
What is the conventional definition or the conventional meaning to that statement, the meek will inherit the earth? Like how do scholars interpret that?
Well, religious.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, how do they interpret that? Like what is...
I think it's in the same vein as it's harder for a camel to pass through an eye of a needle than a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven.
Right.
So that the famous story where
That's a great
Christ
quote.
said, if you want to follow me to the rich guy, he said, give up all your money. And the rich guy turned, hung his head and walked away. And he said, poor guy, it's so hard for the rich to give up their life of privilege. It's very difficult.
Do you think Jesus was a real person?
Historically, I think there was probably a rabbi named Jesus of Nazareth. That seems to be the conclusion among a lot of historians. And he was a radical man because he simplified Judaism. Is really what he was. He was simplifying Judaism to say, look, you could follow the book of Leviticus and all the rituals it takes to become a good Jew, which is there's a certain way to quarter a calf and there's a certain things you can't eat and you have to bathe and you have to do all these rituals. And he said, way too complicated. We're never going to spread the word this way. He said, just make it simple. Do what Rabbi Hillel said in the Old Testament. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you, and hold only one God as your God, the Father, so that we're all... the idea of a monolithic God is that there's one Father, we're all brothers and sisters. That way, we're all of the same moral worth. That way, I can't judge you. That way, I don't know what you're worth. Only God does. I don't know where you have... I don't know what your value is. You're a human being. I can't quantify that. I think that's a beautiful thing. I think we all benefit from that religious and that Judeo-Christian idea, whether we know it or not. And if you want to replace that, my only issue with atheists is if you want to try to replace that irrational idea that we're all the same moral worth, because you can't prove it, but if mathematically or biologically, but what are you going to replace that with? Rationality? You want to run a society on rationality?
They can't do that?
Well, that's the most dangerous idea in the world. It's still the most dangerous idea in the world because ethics have to be predicated. There's got to be bedrock that you can more into.
The most dangerous idea in the world.
Well, because let me give you an example. It's very rational, mathematically. to suggest that anybody who is mentally handicapped is draining resources from our gifted children. And I'm telling you now, in a lot of societies throughout history...
What if we live in abundance? There's plenty of people to take care of the people that are handicapped.
Because abundance doesn't always last, and you can't predict abundance. And a lot of times there isn't.
But it's here right now.
Not really. Not for a lot of people.
Right here?
It'd be very easy to justify if you were just prayed to the God of rationality. It'd be very easy to justify it, and people have done this in history, which is what I worry about.
Sure.
Hey, let's get rid of all the people that are draining our resources because they're hopeless anyway. Yeah. People on breathing machines, people who are severely retarded, whatever they are, severely handicapped, they're draining resources. I know you love them, but listen, we need this money for over here. You're in a hospital, you're taking money. The very old, the very infirm.
So you think we need religion to keep you from taking people off life support?
Well, I will say that I think religion, and specifically the Judeo-Christian ethic, and I include Islam in that, and by the way, I mean, Buddhism talks about the sacredness of a sentient being. These religions are there because, and I think we benefit from it. I think that all of us...
I think we do too.
I mean, where does our justice system is predicated? It's predicated on the idea that all men are created equal.
We benefit from it, but there's also real problems with it.
Of course.
There's real problems with any ideology.
But be careful in what you
but what
if you take
what
it
I don't
away,
understand is why you think it can't be replaced with logic and reason.
Because logic and reason has pitfalls.
But you're assuming
there's nothing
that
logical.
Hold on, assuming that logic and reason doesn't also have compassion. So like you wouldn't have compassion for the people that are mentally handicapped.
Oh, it does. Assuming. It does. It's too fickle. What I'm trying to say is this: there's something very irrational and very religious about the idea that all men are created equal. That we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, right?
Yeah.
And Yuval Harari talks about this brilliantly in his book, which is that you cannot prove mathematically or biologically that the idea that all men are created equal
is that Sapiens or the new book?
Yeah, Sapiens is real, right? So because we're not, again, LeBron James, if he's standing next to me, we're not equal. He's my chocolate avatar, right? So, but we inherently know that our humanness, our human essence.
You're not equal physically. He's a super athlete.
But I'm funny, or I have my own gifts.
Too. Wouldn't that suck? What if he went on stage and murdered?
But there
what
are
if he
people.
was like Eddie Murphy 2.0.
There are people that are better. But
wouldn't that suck though?
Yes.
If he was LeBron James and he was funnier than you.
Well, he's not a bad actor. I'll tell you that much.
Imagine if he was really funny. Well, like if you couldn't follow him.
That's when I give him my girl.
Can you imagine that though?
I would present him with my girl as a
like,
gift.
What? 6 foot? What? 11?
He's 6'9".
Okay, 6'9". 6'9".
265.
Built like a god.
Faster than everybody and stronger than everybody.
Amazing. And murders on stage at the store. And when you eat the mic, you have to go like this to get the mic.
That's right.
Bring it down to you because you have to go on after him.
And that's when I say to him,
he's got it in the mic stand. It's fucking 7 feet in the air.
Yeah, and I go, Mr. James, I'd like to be your traveling concubine. I'm probably not your type.
He doesn't want that.
I'm not your type.
No, you're useless.
I'll take culinary classes and I'll cook. Let me cook for you.
No, he's got people that shut the fuck up that carry the bags.
I'll polish your shoes.
No, you're too annoying, man. What are you going to do? You're going to stare at his dick all day?
I just want to connect with you.
Ask him questions about what a man he is?
Yeah.
This is weird.
What do you squat?
Leave him alone.
Okay. I'll just be in the corner.
Just write better jokes.
Sir, I'd like to be your gimp.
That would be so embarrassing. Like if a guy was that good at basketball, but then was like a natural at comedy. There started murdering in comedy, or like a fighter. Like, what if Terrence Crawford turned out to be the funniest fucking dude in the world? Imagine, you know. Yeah. And he not just fucks people up in the ring, but then Terrence Crawford starts doing sets at the Comedy Store and murdering. And then he's got a Netflix special and he's murdering. And you're like, no! How can he go so good at these things?
I don't know, man. Yeah. But listen, there are people that are better at everything sometimes. I mean, there are.
Well, there's definitely... Look, Elon Musk is a good example of that. How many fucking things can that guy do at once?
But at the same time... What I'm saying is that you can't quantify a human being because you don't know what their potential is and you don't know where they're strong. Like
Listen,
it's
stop.
like
if LeBron James murders on stage, he's better than you.
He's
at
not
everything.
following me.
He's better than you at everything.
Fuck
if he following you, you got to follow him. He's gonna murder, and then the king has left the building. He's gonna drop the mic and walk away.
Yeah, it'd be a problem.
And then you got to go on after.
But you
him.
can't be that good at two things, right? I mean,
who says?
Well, I mean, to be
what
really
if he
good.
decides? How much do you put into it?
You can
How
be
much
really
time do
good
you
at
put
two
into
things, but I think
stand-up?
like 3 times.
What
My
if
whole
he
life.
puts? Listen to me. What if he puts the kind of effort that he puts into getting good at basketball and getting good at stand-up?
Different muscle.
Yeah, one muscle's lazy. One muscle doesn't really write and work, and like for the amount of hours that we work on our craft versus the amount a basketball player has to practice.
It's different.
Listen,
There is
he's
one.
murdering.
This is Blake Griffin. He's been trying to do stand up in the off season the last couple of years. More when he was living in LA. He got traded to Detroit now, so it's a little bit harder for him probably. But
No,
Yeah.
they got
he's
comedy in
been
Detroit.
doing good.
He's good.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've heard people that have seen it,
That's hilarious.
Videos
See?
of it. He's
There
done a
you
lot of
go,
stuff with
motherfucker.
people.
Yep.
So he can look.
He's 6'10".
Doesn't
giant.
matter. Stand up doesn't care. It's a long road.
Yeah,
I'll see you in 10 years.
It can work though. Someone if he does it, look. What I'm saying is, like, you take a guy who has the kind of discipline and work ethic that an athlete does at the highest level of the game,
Yeah.
and apply that to stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
I bet they'll get further than a lot of us.